It's a form of literature that's had a cult following for some time, but is now being recognised by the mainstream literary world. I'm talking about the graphic novel. Matt Coyle is a practitioner. In fact, he's just released a new one called Worry Dolls. Ellie Ward caught up with him to find out more about the genre.
It's sort of a fancy name for a type of comic book, I think. The reason I call my book a graphic novel is because it's probably the only, type of genre that my book will really sort of slot into, I think. I just sort of see a graphic novel as being just a way to portray a sequence of images.
While Matt Coyle was at art school in Sydney, he started a comic strip for a university newspaper and was hooked. His devotion to the comic strip did little to impress his art school lecturers.
I ended up leaving art school. I think they I'm trying to remember, but I think it was a mutual agreement at the end that I should leave. And I just decided straight away I'd draw a graphic novel. I just wanted to do my own book.
The first book, Registry of Death, took 2 years to complete and is peppered with violence.
It was a very sort of violent, outpouring, angsty kind of book for me. It was just sort of something I needed to get out of my system at the time.
Coyle concedes a psychiatrist would probably have an interesting time with him.
My latest book, Worry Doll, there's only probably a couple of pages in it that actually have scenes of violence in it, whereas Registry of Death, pretty much someone's getting their brains blown out every second page. But this is much more menacing, I think. So yes, I suppose is the answer to your question. I've always been drawn to frightening images, I suppose, because you get the combination of excitement and fear. I don't know exactly what it's about, but it started with me actually buying these 3 dolls. I just knew I had to draw them. I sort of set them up in a situation that sort of parodied a typical children's book, I suppose, where certain events meant that they had to sort of suddenly leave the house that they lived in. The events in this case were quite horrific. And then I just knew that they would go on some sort of road adventure. The actual book reads a lot like a dream. I think that was my idea. I'm drawn to nightmarish art, I suppose. I don't know if it's my nightmare.
It might be a nightmare, but it's also a labour of love. Coyle spends hundreds of hours completing each drawing. Each piece is meticulously mapped out in pencil before being finished with a fine-point felt-tipped pen. And the scenes are set and photographed using family, friends, or one of many of his strange dolls.
I was recently photographing in the middle of the night at the front of my house a mannequin with a large pixie's mask on, and the street was completely quiet, and I had spotlights all over her, and she was in a ditch out the front of my house because my front wall was being renovated at the time, and so she was standing just her head well above the wall, and this guy walked along with his dog in the middle of the night, and I thought, here we go, and he stopped and just sort of very casually said, "The walls are looking good, it's coming on really well." And we had a bit of a chat, and off he went, and didn't even mention it. So I think there are stranger people out there than me.
This sort of work doesn't easily find a publisher. Coyle spent about 18 months going through comic book publishers.
A lot of those publishers would write back to me and say that they liked the work, but they just had no idea how to market it.
He was on the verge of self-publishing when he had a breakthrough.
The publisher for Worry Doll, Mamtor, the interesting thing about them was that it's a very small company, and the publisher himself is an artist who's made a living drawing comics for DC and Marvel and all the big guns in the States, drawing the Hulk and that sort of thing. But he set up this side project of publishing stuff that would normally, have difficulty finding a home. And he didn't really care about the market, he was just so sort of passionate about it.
But that doesn't seem to bother art buyers. 25 limited edition prints from the book have sold at an exhibition in Sydney.